Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are doing well. My name is Dr. Watkins, and I wanted to talk to you guys about this crazy article that I just saw in the Grio. I was going through the black media and black-owned media or pseudo-black-owned media and just trying to see what was going on in the world. And I saw this crazy article by this guy. His name is Teray. Now, Teray's been around for a minute, and so, but I won't talk much about Teray. But I just thought it would be really funny to talk about the article that he wrote. And his article was basically saying that any relatives that you have who have not had the jab should not be invited to Thanksgiving dinner. Now, not as if the world has ever given a damn what Teray thinks. This is not about a Teray mandate, right? We know that Teray's opinion means about as much as a pack of moldy butter biscuits in the back of your cabinet. But I thought it was an interesting topic because I think there are some people who actually feel this way. I think there are some people out there who really feel that there's Teray, by the way, that really feel that if you didn't get the jab, then you should not be invited to come to Thanksgiving dinner. Now, I was really curious to ask you all, give me a yes or no. How many of you have loved ones who agree with Teray, who would feel uncomfortable about being at dinner with you if you didn't have the jab? How many of you have relatives who might agree with that? Give me a yes or no in the chat. I'd be really curious. All right, and then I'd like to ask you, how many of you give me a yes yes or no? Do you think that makes sense or not? Yes, do you think it makes sense? Give me a no if you think it doesn't make sense, like a hell no if you think it's really stupid. I'd be really curious to know what people think about that. Okay, I'm looking at your comments now. All right, so let me give you some thoughts on this. This is why I even decided to even talk about this, because Teray's been around for a while. He's been saying some weird stuff. I think he got into a fight with Roland Martin one time and on Twitter, and I think they said something, which is weird because him and Roland are kind of the same. These little bougie boule type guys that just kind of say weird stuff sometimes. And I remember he said something to Roland like, "Man, that's why you can't have no kids." And I was like, since when does a man have full awareness of the fertility status of another man? Like, since when does that? How does that happen? How do you get to know what's going on inside that man's balls like that? I'm just asking for a friend. Just curious. I'm not trying to hate or nothing, but I mean, come on now. Seriously, there's not a single friend I've ever had anywhere where I could tell you if he could have kids or not. That's just not. If my wife couldn't have kids, I'd know that. If I couldn't have kids, I'd know that. But another guy, that's kind of weird. But hey, that's life. But then again, that's your Democratic Party. Unfortunately, that's kind of what it's become. But with that said, what's interesting about that article, where he's basically saying, if you have loved ones who didn't get the jab, they should not be invited to Thanksgiving dinner. The reason this article kind of struck a chord with me was not because I was concerned about his opinion. I don't think Teray's opinion matters that much. It really doesn't, because you can think what you want. I believe in freedom. Do what you want, think what you want. It's totally up to you. But what got me was that it reminds me of something I think you should be very careful about. One of the goals of this Democrat-Republican stuff is to divide Black people, right? Is to make sure families are broken up, to make sure that you're fighting brother against brother, sister against sister, that you're fighting against each other and not fighting against the common enemy. An example might be the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War was when the Americans and the Soviets came into Vietnam, and next thing you know, half the Vietnamese were in the north and the other half were in the south. And Vietnamese who were related to each other were trying to kill each other, all over this divide between communism and capitalism, fighting for two countries that didn't give a shit about that country, about Vietnam at all. They cared nothing about how many people died. They didn't care about all the children, the traumatized children that had to grow up in the middle of war. My father and I were watching Saving Private Ryan, and my father said he was a Vietnam veteran. Shout out to all the veterans that are in the house. I have a lot of respect for you. And he said something like, can you imagine being a child growing up in the middle of war? And so that made me think about Vietnam and how Vietnam was divided in the same way that the Democrats and Republicans try to divide the Black community. Now, here's the thing. If you remember in Vietnam, which was similar to Afghanistan, which was similar to what we did in Iran, which was similar to what we did in Nicaragua, I can keep going down the list, Rwanda, you can keep going. You saw where they used Vietnam until they didn't need them anymore. So when the United States found that it wasn't interesting anymore to be in Vietnam, they simply abandoned Saigon. And that's when you had the fall of Saigon, where people were literally being shot in the head, where all the scores got settled. People were being shot in the head in the street because they had sided with the Americans because they thought the Americans had their back. They learned quickly the Americans don't have their back. Now, why do I bring up the fall of Saigon in reference to Black people today in the Democrat-Republican divide? It's because these people who are dividing your family, these people do not have your back. These people do not care what is going on in your community. These people do not care about how many dozens of little Black girls and little Black boys got shot in Chicago this week. These people do not care about the divisions that might occur in your family over these mandates that are going to last forever. They don't care that you've been cool with your cousin since 1982, but now you and your cousin hate each other because your cousin chose to get the jab and you didn't, and your cousin ain't talking to you no more. You think you do? Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no. Do you think that Joe Biden gives a damn about the fact that you lost your loved one, that you lost one of your greatest allies on this planet? Give me a yes or no. Do you think Donald Trump gives a shit about whether or not you lost a family member fighting over this Democrat-Republican nonsense? Yes or no? Answer me. Answer me in the chat. No, they don't. They care nothing about you. They care nothing about you. They're using you. So when I see this whole divide over mandates and jabs and and you start encroaching on sacred events like Thanksgiving dinner, I know people have different opinions about Thanksgiving, and I totally respect that. But y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it is. Holiday gatherings are important for our families. Holiday gatherings are the time where we express love for each other. It is an opportunity for us to truly connect to one another. It is one of the most sacred traditions that exists in our community. We know what it is. Stop pretending. Stop playing. Stop acting like you don't get together with your loved ones on holidays, even the white holidays, even the Christmases and all that stuff. I know we talk shit about Christmas. Every holiday we talk crazy, but because it's true. It's true. Like the history of Thanksgiving is crazy, right? The Pilgrims should have let those suckers die instead of like feeding them, and then we wouldn't have all these problems, right? But you know how sacred it is to go to Big Mama's house, and this idea that some Negro pen is taking a Democratic Party platform, a political issue, and saying that this political issue should be enough reason for you to disband and disconnect from the people that you need the most is absolutely ridiculous. Now, again, that does not preclude your own right and your ability to make that decision yourself. If you have the jab and you're nervous around people who didn't get the jab, then yeah, it is your right to stay away. I mean, I believe everybody has the freedom to do what they want. But what's interesting is I want you guys to go, and this is for intelligent Black people, but if you go, New York Times just did a really crazy video, a really good journalistic video where they talked about the hypocrisy of liberals. This was in the New York Times. And this guy basically explained how all throughout the country, that all these districts that are controlled by liberals, he said, let's see if they actually live the values that they claim. So he looked at three major areas. He looked at education, housing, and there was one more: education, housing, and something else. I literally took notes because I thought he did such a brilliant job. It's a great housing. Oh, and taxation. And basically he found that in all three of those areas, that what the liberals say is very different from what they do. So they'll talk about things like, we want affordable housing, and right, affordable housing. Housing is a human right. Housing is a human right. Or maybe it's education. They say is a human right. Or both of them. I don't remember, but they all sort of say the same thing. This is kind of cultish in a way because they repeat the same talking points a lot of times. And one thing that he showed was he said that in those districts where they claim to be, 100% blue and purely liberal, what they'll do is they close out poor people. They shut down. They're like, no, we don't want affordable housing in our neighborhood. They have zoning districts that require houses to have a certain amount of space between them and for all the houses to be single family homes. So they don't want apartment buildings. They don't want townhouses. They don't want extra housing for people that can't afford it. They want you to take your ass up out of here. Right. And that was just one area. They also talked about taxation, let's tax the rich. Right. So when you go after them and you say, OK, pay more taxes, they start fighting back and they say, no, we don't want to pay more taxes. Or when you talk about education, they say everybody should have great education. Every zip code should have great education. But what they'll do is they'll lock their own little zip code apart from everything else and create a little enclave where they will collect their tax revenue to support their schools. And they could give a shit less about the Black kids, like 3 miles down the road. And Chicago is a great example of that. Chicago is extremely liberal. But if you go to the south side of Chicago and the west side of Chicago, It's an absolute mess. That's where people are being shot on a regular basis. Little black children are being killed every day. Liberals don't talk about that. Now, I'm not telling you to go become a Republican. I'm not saying that at all. That's the first thing people always say. Well, if you don't like the Democrats, and what are you trying to say? We should be Republicans? No, I'm trying to say you should be black. I'm trying to say that your black ass need to get off the damn Democrat Republican plantation. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying to you that black people don't have no friends, and all you got is each other. And you have to make sure that you don't let anybody violate that bond that you have with the people that are truly going to have your back. And so that relative, that little cousin that you have, who may choose to do something different from you when it comes to this jab, I don't think that's worth fighting about. Half my family got the jab, half my family didn't. I don't even know who got it and who didn't. All I know is I love you. I ride with you. If that means that I got to take a 0.001% chance that you might give me a virus that might take me out, it's all good. Because let's not sit here and pretend that the health of black people has always been a top priority. Let's stop pretending like the Democrats have always cared about whether black people are healthy and doing well. Let's stop pretending like they tried to stop you when they feeding you all this damn poisonous fast food and all this other toxic shit that's killing you every single day. Let's stop pretending like they gave a damn when hundreds of thousands of people were dying from diabetes, cancer, strokes, gunshot wounds. Let's stop pretending. Seriously, stop acting like you suddenly care about people's lives. Stop even saying the words Black Lives Matter, because I know that you are lying. You are a lying son of a bitch. Stop it. Let's just call it for what it is. Let's call it for what it is. Big Pharma is on the paper chase. They're going to get their money. Okay, as long as we know what it is. Democrat Party's trying to win an election by manipulating black people emotionally. Okay, as long as we know what it is, right? Or maybe you just have a fear of viruses, and that's fine. You'll take your hypochondriac ass over to the corner, and just maybe you can sit there in that corner for the rest of your life. I don't care, but stop acting like suddenly we all care about the well-being of black people, because if you cared, then you would have been alarmed when all those little black babies were getting shot in Chicago and Philadelphia last month. You would be deeply concerned about that. You'd be protesting as much when a black kid gets shot in the hood as you are when a black person gets killed by a white police officer. Like, seriously, I mean, if you really cared, your actions would be completely different. If you really cared, you would hear us when we say we want reparations for all the trillions in wealth that was stolen from black people over the last several hundred years. If you really cared, you would take all these $100 million, billion-dollar buildings that white people own and give a bunch of them to black people so that we could have those assets and use them for our own purposes in our own community. I mean, if you really cared, if you really cared for real, you would really do something to show that you care. You don't care. Stop acting like you're doing it because you care. Let's just be clear. You're doing it because you're serving your self-interest. And I'm not even mad at you for that, because I'm completely all about the self-interest of black people. I'm completely all about black people also doing for ourselves and putting our own self-interest first. That's what the whole B1 concept is all about. B1 basically says it's not that we don't give a damn about you. It just means we got to give a damn about ourselves first. And after we finish giving a damn about ourselves, then whatever we have left, we'll give you the extra, but we ain't got no extra because we got a lot of stuff to do. It's like when somebody says, hey, man, would you come over and help me cut the grass? And you say, man, look, it's not that I wouldn't help you cut the grass, but I got to go to work. I got to pick up my kids. I got to take care of my wife. So I would, I'm not against cutting your grass. It's just that's not my top priority right now, because I got to take care of home base first, right? So the message that I would share with intelligent black people is take care of your home base first. Take care of your home base first. To me, that means making your own decisions first and foremost. That means sovereignty. Sovereignty means that there is not a goddamn thing Joe Biden can tell me about how to live my life as a black man. Nothing that Jim Crow Joe and his old racist buddies can ever tell me about how to live my life as a black man. You locked up more black men than any president in the history of this country. How in the hell am I supposed to even act like you, my friend? You up here killing me. If I even thought about getting on my knee and kissing your raggedy, crinkled up, rusty white ass, I would literally never have respect for myself, and no one should respect me, because you literally were killing people that I love. How can I love you when you hate me so much, when you hate the people that I love so much, when you sent millions of black men off to be tortured in prison in a horrible way? How in the world, what in the world, what kind of Negro I look like acting like you my buddy now? You can't be my buddy. I'm not going to carry anger, because anger is not a healthy emotion to carry. But I'll be damned, I'm insulted that you're asking me to get behind this man and tickle his balls in order to get a couple butter biscuits and crumbs out of him. That's ridiculous. That's embarrassing. And the idea that there are people that will carry ideas that are being pushed by these politicians into the community and disrupt sacred events like gathering at Big Mama's house for Thanksgiving dinner should be very offensive to you. I'm not telling you that you should get the jab or you shouldn't get the jab. I'm not telling you if you shouldn't have a concern about being around people that haven't gotten the jab. I'm not telling you any of that. What I'm saying to you is it should be your decision. It should be your decision. These people don't care nothing about you. They never have. All right. So anyway, that's it. That's my 2 cents on the issue. I've made my point. I will not address this anymore. So God bless you. Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe button if you have not done it yet. And also just a reminder, if you are interested in things like Black Wealth, the Black Business School is offering a ton of amazing discounts this week alone. So feel free to go to boycewatkins.com if you want to take a look. If you're on Instagram, the link is in the bio. So feel free to take a look. We've got some good stuff on crypto, Forex, whatever you want to learn. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good day. Love you. I'll see you soon. Take care. Peace.